Hey guys, it's Christian. This is going to be a update video of our previous video I did called What the Future of Disney Star Wars Needs to Do. So I'll be playing my previous video and then chiming in occasionally with the new information that I've received, just so you can stay up to date with everything that's going on in the world of Star Wars. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Ahsoka. This one's probably like my most anticipated show, just because I love the character of Ahsoka ever since Clone Wars. From the movie, she wasn't my favorite character at first, and I think a lot of people kind of agreed. But then as the show went on, she matured and she became really like a fan favorite. And then I'm glad that by the end of like the Clone Wars season, they kind of wrapped up her storyline. I said this before in like my other video, when Disney bought Lucasfilm, they canceled Clone Wars because it was on Cartoon Network, which belonged to Warner Brothers, and they put it on Netflix for a little bit to kind of give like the lost episodes. But I'm glad that once Disney bought Lucasfilm, they brought Dave Filoni back on board and they allowed him to finish off the season and kind of wrap up Ahsoka's storyline in the best way possible. Because literally that whole season 7 story arc, I said it before in my last video, that whole last 4 episodes were incredible and really set the stage for Ahsoka's character later on. Then obviously we get her more in Rebels. She was great in that when she came up in season 2, where it was revealed that she was Fulcrum the whole time, and then she kind of weaves in and out of that show, and then by the end you kind of get that little tease of her and Sabine teaming up to actually find Ezra and find Thrawn, just because they launched into hyperspace into parts unknown of the galaxy at the end of that, and now it's kind of the whole search for him. And then when she popped up in season 2 of Mandalorian and then kind of talked to the Bo staff woman, and she's like, "Where is Thrawn?" I remember when I watched that episode and I was like, "Oh shoot!" I was already like mind blown just seeing her in live action, because Rosario Dawson is like an incredible actress. At first I thought it was going to be Ashley Eckstein who was going to be the live action Ahsoka, but it was Rosario Dawson, which was totally fine. So it's cool to see her in that, just interacting with Mando and talking about Grogu and talking about connections with Luke Skywalker and Anakin Skywalker, obviously. So yeah, I'm really excited to see that. But yeah, I'm excited with the show that they're going to continue this storyline that they left off with the search for Thrawn and the search for Ezra. One, we got confirmation that Ezra's going to be in the show, so it's going to be cool to see him in live action, and like the picture of the actor who's playing Ezra looks just like him. So I know the actor who played Aladdin in the live action version of Aladdin was kind of fan casted to do it, but I'm glad that they got this new actor to do it because he looks just like Ezra. And when I saw them, I'm like, oh shoot, that's like literally perfect casting. So I'm excited to see that. Yeah, one of the things I'm really excited to see is possible flashbacks with Anakin Skywalker, either flashbacks of Anakin Skywalker or Force Ghost Anakin Skywalker, just because now we know that Hayden Christensen is confirmed to be in Ahsoka, which makes total sense. So it really just depends on how he's going to portray Anakin Skywalker in this show. Like if it is flashbacks, I think that would be really incredible, just because I talked about this in Obi-Wan, but that whole flashback to young Obi-Wan and young Anakin from the Attack the Clones era of Star Wars was like really amazing. And like I said this before, but I thought they were going to have like a whole episode dedicated to a flashback of seeing young Obi-Wan and young Anakin. So yeah, it'd be really cool to see flashbacks of young Anakin with young Ahsoka. Maybe they're training, maybe we see Ahsoka kind of seeing hints of Anakin leaning towards the dark side. So we'll see what happens with that. But if it's a Force Ghost, I think that would be cool too. The rumors back in the day in like the Last Jedi era when that film was being in production, that like, oh shoot, did Rian Johnson secretly hire Hayden Christensen to make a cameo as a Force Ghost? And going back to like Force Awakens, where the question was, why didn't Force Ghost Anakin show up to Kylo and say, I'm a Force Ghost, I was redeemed at the end of Return of the Jedi, like you don't have to follow my footsteps of when I was Darth Vader. I guess either Kylo wasn't powerful enough to communicate with Force Ghosts, or like maybe the Emperor clone was so powerful that he can cut off connections between Jedi and Force Ghosts and everything. So that was kind of a bummer to see that. And then with Rise of Skywalker, we were supposed to get a bunch of Force Ghosts coming back at the end, but I guess because in China, like they're kind of weary about seeing ghosts in movies, so they cut all that out and they just kind of had like the voiceovers of all the ghosts. We got a little bit of a voiceover from Hayden Christensen, but it would have been cool to see a bunch of Force Ghosts backing up Rey and taking on the Emperor clone and everything, because apparently Force Ghosts can grab onto objects. So as we saw with Rey throwing a lightsaber and Luke Skywalker catching it, it's like, a Jedi's weapon deserves more respect. So that would have kind of been a missed opportunity. But anyway, back to Ahsoka. Hey, I'm excited to see Hayden Christensen, whatever iteration Dave Filoni decides that he should be in. I think he might lean towards flashbacks, just because he obviously created Clone Wars, so it'd be cool to see more flashbacks with young Anakin and young Ahsoka. But I mean, if it is a Force Ghost, then I think that could still be really cool as well. Yeah, I'm also excited to see the relationship that forms between Ahsoka and Sabine. Yeah, just because the casting for Sabine, like she looks incredible. She looks looks just like the animated version of Sabine, and kind of see how their relationship forms. And then that'd be also really cool if we got a live action version of Zeb. I don't think anything's been confirmed, but Dave Filoni obviously loves his characters from Rebels, so if he wants to kind of bring them in, I think that would be cool. Hey, just chiming in real quick. So as of this recording, I actually just watched the Mandalorian season 5 episode with live action Zeb, and he looked amazing. When I saw him, it was just like kind of mind blowing seeing him in live action. So I'm hoping that we actually get to see him in the Ahsoka show, since like I say earlier, Dave Filoni's bringing a lot of characters from Rebels, so why not bring in Zeb since we already established him in this episode of Mandalorian. So I'm hoping they do that, but if not, then no harm, no foul. It was just cool seeing him in this really cool cameo. So we'll see what happens, but anyway, back to the video. And then seeing a little Jason, Harrison Dula, and Kanan's son, I think that'd be amazing as well. Yeah, it kind of brings that kind of Rebels love that me and like the rest of the fandom had, because that ending for Rebels, I said this in my last video, was just incredible and ended the series perfectly, but still kind of had those little loose ends that need to be tied up. And when that first happened, I was like, oh yeah, that'd be cool, fan fiction or something, or maybe they'll have a novel or a comic book. But the fact that they're gonna continue this storyline in live action with official Ahsoka show with Dave Filoni at the helm, I'm really excited for it. So we'll see what happens. It's definitely one of my most anticipated shows, and with Dave Filoni at the helm, I feel like he's really gonna put lots of care into the show. He's gonna treat the characters right. He's gonna kind of give them all satisfying conclusions. And I think they said it's supposed to be just like a limited series, so I'm not sure how many episodes there are. I think there might be like 8 episodes or something. So it's really just gonna kind of be like a one and done, kind of wrap up these storylines that they kind of left us with at the end of Rebels. I'll probably get to this a little bit later, but apparently it's gonna be kind of like a crossover event between like Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and a Skeleton Crew. I think Kathleen Kennedy's trying to play the Marvel game of having the different storylines kind of come together, kind of like Kevin Feige did with Marvel, have this Avengers crossover film. I'm excited to see what'll happen, like I said before, with Dave Filoni at the helm, and then John Watson, Christopher Ford, helming Skeleton Crew, which I'll get to later on. I think this could be really, really cool, and there can be a little bit more connection between the Star Wars movies, a little bit more continuity, just a little bit more consistency and quality, and it seems like they finally have a plan, because like what I was saying with my last video of the sequel trilogy not really having a plan, J.J. Abrams just kind of went with Force Awakens, and then Rian Johnson took that and just struck down our fan theories and everything, kind of went with his own idea, and then J.J. Abrams kind of had to come in and try to wrap things up the best he could. And I know there's an article out there of like Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger kind of confessing that they messed up with the sequel trilogy, and that they're hoping to actually have a plan moving forward to have kind of more tie-in and connection, more continuity, which would have been good with the sequel trilogy, but oh well. But yeah, I'm just glad that moving forward they're gonna finally have a plan. So we'll see what happens with that. Hey, just jumping in again. Star Wars Celebration dropped the first Ahsoka trailer with confirmation of the release date, and it's actually going to come out in August of this year, so that's going to be really exciting. And speaking of the trailer, it looks amazing. I'm super excited for it, and August can't come quickly enough. We also got confirmation on a couple of the cast members, so it looks like Mary Elizabeth Winstead is actually going to be playing Hera. We also got a shot of Chopper in there. We also found out that Ray Stevenson is going to be playing a character named Balin. I'm not really quite sure who he's going to be. He looks like he's going to be some kind of Imperial, but has some kind of like lightsaber abilities, but it looks like it's going to be really cool. And just based on his lightsaber, it looks like it's more like an orange lightsaber, not necessarily red, so maybe he's some kind of different faction of dark side users for the kind of rising Empire. And speaking of the Empire, we actually got confirmation that Thrawn's going to be in it, of course. We just saw that shot in the trailer of him walking into the bridge of the Star Destroyer, kind of like the back of his head. But yeah, it was really cool to see him in live action, in that little line that Ahsoka says of the Heir to the Empire, a little reference to the Heir to the Empire Thrawn trilogy. So I'm glad that Dave is definitely picking pieces from the expanded universe that's now marked as Legends and making them canon again. So that's going to be really, really cool. We actually got confirmation that Lars Mikkelsen is actually going to be playing Grand Admiral Thrawn, and he was the original voice actor who played him in Rebels. So I'm glad that we finally actually get to see him in live action. I made that prediction back in December that, hey, maybe he'll play the live action Thrawn. So I'm glad that that was actually confirmed. So yeah, I'm really excited to see it. And we also got confirmation that David Tennant is going to be playing the character of Hugh Yang. He was a lightsaber crafting droid from the Clone Wars series. So it was really cool seeing him in live action. So definitely excited for that for sure. And we also got confirmation that Genevieve O'Reilly is going to be in it, and she played Mon Mothma in Revenge of the Sith and Rogue One and Andor. So it's really cool to see that kind of tie-in as well. It was cool seeing her, that little shot of her in the trailer. We also got confirmation that Diana Lee Inosanto is going to be in it, and she played the magistrate from season 2 of Mandalorian in the episode of the Jedi that Ahsoka appears in. So that's cool that she appears in as well, just to have that more of that tie-in. And an actress named Ivana Sakno, she's going to be playing a sort of apprentice to Balin's character. So I'm guessing she's going to be another kind of dark side user. Maybe she'll be a Sith, maybe this is kind of like the rising of the Sith that'll lead us into the events of the sequel trilogy. So we actually got another update with the casting. There's going to be an actor named Wes Chatham, and apparently he's going to be playing Thrawn's right-hand man. We also got another update with Ahsoka. As of this recording, a new trailer just dropped a couple days ago, and it looked incredible. Also, at the very end, it confirmed that there's going to be a 2-episode premiere on August 23rd. So that's going to be really exciting. And then as far as speculation, we got more of Hera and her struggle to be a leader in the New Republic. We also got more of Sabine, and it looks like she's going to be an apprentice to Ahsoka. And it looks like Ahsoka actually trained her back in the day, and they had a fallout before splitting up. We also got a couple lightsaber battles. We got a couple shots of Ahsoka going against an Inquisitor. We also got a couple shots of Sabine in a lightsaber duel with Shin Hati. So there's speculation that she might be a Force user, but I think she's just training in ways to defend herself with a lightsaber. Because back in one of the seasons for Rebels, she was actually training with Kanan with the lightsaber. We also got some dialogue from Ezra, and the actor who plays him in the live-action version sounds just like him. We also got a full reveal of Lars Mikkelsen as Grand Admiral Thrawn. He looks just like the animated version, as well as the artwork from the books from the Heir to the Empire trilogy. But other than that, I'm really excited. The trailer looked incredible, and if the show can just be half as good as what the trailer presented, then I'll be happy, because I feel like at this point, Star Wars and Lucasfilm just really need this show to be good, just because the shows that they had right now are kind of hit or miss, and then the movies they've been announcing won't be coming for another couple of years or so, so they really need this show to be really, really good. So I'm hoping that it will be. As I said before, with Dave Filoni at the helm, I really think this is going to be good. So we'll see. All this is kind of speculation, but I'm really excited for August, and that trailer looked incredible, and yeah, it just can't come soon enough. So yeah, we'll see what happens with it.
All right, and now we move on to Skeleton Crew. For this one, I'm pretty excited for as well. When I first heard about it, I didn't really know too much about it. At first, I thought it was going to be this disparate band of rebels going from place to place to place on these different missions and stuff. But actually going into it, like apparently it's going to be more of like 4 11 to 12-year-olds who are kind of lost in space, and either they're on the run from this 30 to 40-year-old character, which Jude Law will play, or he'll meet up with them and they'll go on this adventure together and everything, which yeah, I thought was pretty cool. I was doing research into it, and now John Watts and Christopher Ford are going to be at the helm of it, and they said that they talked to Kathleen Kennedy that they kind of wanted to be like kind of like an 80s Amblin coming of age adventure story, kind of like the Goonies in space, which I thought was like really cool, kind of like a different spin on Star Wars where it's all about the wars and everything. Apparently the fake production title was like based on like an episode of The Simpsons where like Bart Simpson and his friends have like these fake IDs, and like they kind of go on this road trip and things go wrong. So I can totally see that happening with this show, because John Watts, like one of his movies, I haven't seen it, but it's called Cop Car. It's about these 2 teenagers who steal a cop car, and then Kevin Bacon, who's the cop, is after them. So it can kind of be like in that vein. I'm not really sure how much it'll tie in, because apparently this is supposed to tie in with Mandalorian and Ahsoka, but since it takes place in that kind of Mandalorian Ahsoka time, I'm hoping that we kind of get more of the post Return of the Jedi Reconstruction era, as we kind of saw with the Mandalorian, like now with the Empire gone and like the rebellion kind of trying to reform the galaxy. So it's kind of like the Wild West, where there's no main government over the galaxy. So obviously Mando is like the gunslinger character, going into the bars and shooting people up and getting his bounty and stuff. So when we kind of explore more of that, maybe these 4 young characters are kind of like on the fringes of society. Maybe they ran away from home or something. They're kind of rebels themselves, not necessarily with the Alliance, but they're kind of like these rebellious kids. Maybe they steal an Imperial ship or something, and they kind of get lost in space, and then like Jude Law's character goes after them because the Imperials are obviously after these 4 kids. So it can kind of be like a fun adventure story. Maybe they're after some kind of pirate treasure, kind of like in the Goonies, since that's what John Watts was inspired by to make this story. So yeah, I think it could be like a fun story. Then maybe like as the show goes on, it can kind of become more dark and more mature, and these characters can meet up with Mando, like to kind of open the door for like a bigger war going on. Maybe like the Empire is slowly but surely building themselves up. These characters can go from being people who like run away from the fight to being brought into the fight, kind of like Mando was, where at first he was in it for himself, and then obviously Grogu came into his life, and then he became like selfless, and then he eventually realized that I can't be on the run, I really need to join this fight, get this kid with Luke Skywalker, kind of have that be the journey. And then now that we got those episodes with Book of Boba Fett, Mando and Grogu are kind of like a clan of 2, and now with like Grief Karga and all these other characters kind of bring him into this bigger fight with the Empire and everything. These Skeleton Crew characters can kind of be involved in all that. So I'm hoping that's kind of like the epic crossover event that we get that Kathleen Kennedy was hinting at later on. So we'll see. Obviously all this is speculation. We're not really confirmed about anything at this point. We just know the premise and the inspiration. Maybe it won't be as tied in with these characters, but I'm hoping it will. So we'll see how that goes.
Hey, jumping in again. So for Skeleton Crew, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Shiner, aka the Daniels, who directed Swiss Army Man and Everything Everywhere All at Once, are pegged to direct an episode of Skeleton Crew, which I'm actually really excited for because I loved both those movies. So yeah, I'm hoping that they kind of bring that kind of weird, crazy, interesting, heartfelt, hilarious style to one of the episodes, or maybe they'll direct multiple episodes. But right now they're just confirmed to just do into one episode, which I think is totally fine, just because John Watts and Christopher Ford are known for like comedy, weird, oddball humor and all that. They did Clown and Cop Car, which I haven't seen, which I explained in the video, but I loved Spider-Man Home Trilogy, so there's a lot of like humor and heart in that. So I'm hoping that they bring that more into the Skeleton Crew series, especially with the Daniels on board. I think it can be really good. So yeah, I'm hoping that they stay on board and that they make something great. So yeah, we'll see. I also found out that a director named David Lowery is actually going to be directing an episode as well. And he did a lot of stuff like Peach Dragon and Peter Pan and Wendy. He also directed like Ghost Story and Green Knight, and just based on his tone, he's kind of like in that fantasy realm, like children discovering some kind of like fantasy, or he's very like visual. He has a lot of like fantastical elements within his stories. So I'm guessing that he'll bring a lot of that to Skeleton Crew, especially since the premise is, a bunch of kids exploring the galaxy and stuff like that. So yeah, I really think he'll bring that kind of Goonies vibe. Maybe he'll have some more of like the serious episodes, just based on like, Peach Dragon, the tone they set with that one. So yeah, maybe he'll start like more like comedic with the Daniels when they're doing it, and then kind of slowly become more mature with David's episode. So we'll see what happens. We also got confirmation on a couple of directors that'll be directing a couple of the episodes. There's Jake Schreier, and he directed a movie called The Robot and Frank, which I haven't seen, but just from clips I've seen, it looks like with his episode, he'll have like a very sci-fi, endearing kind of like character moments and everything like that. So I think that could be really good. Bryce Dallas Howard and Lee Isaac Chung are actually going to be directors as well, and they directed a couple episodes of The Mandalorian. Bryce Dallas Howard directed one of the Mandalorian episodes that weren't really that good, episode 6. But other than that, she's directed some really, really good episodes of Mandalorian. But yeah, I'm excited that they're bringing on these different filmmakers for Skeleton Crew, and yeah, it just gets me more excited for it. We've also got some updates with the casting. Apparently Jude Law is going to be playing some kind of Jedi. We also got confirmation on the actors for the kid characters. The first one is Ravi Kabat Conyers. The next one is Kiriana Crater, and the last one is Robert Timothy Smith. We also got confirmation on the fourth child character. His name is Ryan Kira Armstrong. We also got confirmation on the 2 adult characters. One is Tunde Andabimpe, and the next one is Carrie Condon. And I'm assuming that they'll probably be like the parent characters, either that or maybe they'll be like antagonists who are after the kids while they're on their journey. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully we'll get some more casting announcements of the characters that they'll be playing. So for Skeleton Crew, there's been a couple updates. The biggest update is that Jalil White's actually been confirmed to be in the series, and he said he's going to be playing some kind of pirate, and there's speculation of whether he's going to be a friend or foe, and I think it's going to be the latter. I think he's going to be an enemy. So that'd be really interesting to see. He also confirmed the show might come out in November or December, so that totally makes sense since the show is still said to come out in 2023, so the holiday season is the perfect time for that. Apparently there's a trailer that dropped at Star Wars Celebration, and there's been some descriptions of it, and it definitely seems like it'll be Goonies in space, where the kids are on this planet where it's kind of described as suburban, and they go off on this adventure, and the parents return and they say that the kids are missing. So it looks like they're going to meet up with Jude Law's character, who reveals himself to be a Jedi, and he's probably going to be like protecting them as they're kind of like lost in space. So we'll see how it goes. They haven't dropped the trailer just yet, so I can't really judge it too much. I can only kind of judge it based on the descriptions, but I mean, it looks like it'll be some kind of like fun space adventure, lost in space type show, so I think it could be really good. But yeah, definitely still excited for Skeleton Crew, and yeah, hopefully we get the trailer released and get more confirmation on who the characters are that these actors are playing, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right, and now we move on to the Acolyte. This is going to be tied into the High Republic, which I'm pretty excited about. I don't know too much about the High Republic. I know it's going to be tied into books and video games, and then like the future of Disney Star Wars is kind of tie into the High Republic a little bit more. But I know with this one, this is kind of more about the mysteries of the dark side and everything, which I think can be really cool. I read up on Leslie Headland, the creator of this show, how she wanted to kind of get more into how did the dark side form after all the Sith were wiped out and the Jedi kind of rose to power. How did they infiltrate the Senate? How did Palpatine shroud himself in mystery so that the Jedi wouldn't be aware of like what was going on? And how she was kind of explore those themes of like the Jedi are kind of like above it all. She was saying that they're going to be wearing white and gold uniforms, and like they're kind of like above the peasants and everything. They're kind of like in their high Jedi temple, and they don't kind of really associate. So she kind of wanted to explore like why are they like this? Why are they kind of so blinded to the conflict that's going on? So I'm hoping that we kind of see more of the Jedi history, this whole battle that went on previously before the events of Phantom Menace, how the Sith were extinct for over a millennium, and explore kind of this arrogance that the Jedi have when it comes to that, like, oh, we're so high and mighty, like there's no way that a Sith can be under our nose and infiltrate the Senate. So yeah, I'm excited to see more of that. And for this one, I know this is going to be more of like a female-centric show. I know we're getting Ahsoka, but she was kind of like a previously established character. Well, this one is like a character that's completely brand new. The main character is going to be played by Amanda Stenberg. I haven't seen a lot of her films or TV shows, but I've seen her in like Hunger Games and a couple other movies here and there. Yeah, I think she's a great actress, so I think she could be really cool to pull off this role, just be this kind of completely brand new character. Because we haven't really had like a female-centric TV show. We've had like the movies and stuff,
but at least for like the TV shows, we haven't really had it. And I think it'd be good to get more like the female casual fans. Obviously, there's plenty of female fans for Star Wars, but get those casual fans who aren't really in it. Like my wife, for example, is not really into Star Wars as much. Like she's seen some of the movies, but she's not super into it. But I think like this show could be really cool for her to see. Something that's like completely new, doesn't really have to do with the Skywalker saga, completely new character and completely new storyline. So maybe this can kind of be her entry point into getting into Star Wars. So yeah, maybe it can actually be pretty good. I was reading more articles about like Leslie Headland, and she like kind of grew up playing Star Wars RPGs and writing Star Wars fan fiction and watching all the movies when they were being released. So obviously she's a very passionate fan of Star Wars. And I was reading that for her writer's room, she kind of had a mixture of different writers, where she had writers who were like super into Star Wars, some who were kind of like more casual fans, and then some who didn't know Star Wars at all. So I think that could be interesting, having those different perspectives, where like people who haven't really seen Star Wars as much, but they care about characters and storylines and stuff that works. So I think that can be interesting, having a good mix of that, just having her at the helm of everything. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. There's not really too much information out there. We've got the cast, and the cast looks incredible. I know Manny Jacinto's in there, and he's from The Good Place, which is one of my favorite shows of all time. So it'd be cool to see him in a Star Wars show. And then they have the actor from Squid Game, which I haven't seen, but obviously that's getting all this critical acclaim and breaking records for viewership for Netflix. You have like Daphne Keane from Logan, which I loved, Carrie-Anne Moss from Matrix. So I think this could be a really good show. And I guess speaking of which, I know they're going to kind of lean into like the martial arts side of Star Wars. Like I was reading before, like Leslie was kind of reading into the inspirations for Star Wars, how George Lucas was inspired by all these different samurai films, especially Akira Kurosawa. So I think that could be really cool. And then she was watching different movies and different samurai films to kind of get inspiration for the Acolyte. And then obviously there's going to be a lot of Asian actors in the Acolyte. So I think that could be really cool as well to kind of bring that into it, because we've kind of seen hints of it in different movies and shows ever since Disney bought Lucasfilm. But it'd be kind of cool to see more of like a show that's really more influenced by martial arts, just because that was like one of the biggest inspirations for George Lucas when he was kind of creating Star Wars. It was Akira Kurosawa was like his mentor. So it'd be kind of cool to see a show that really leans into that. And I know this is also going to be in like an action mystery thriller. So it'd be kind of cool to see like more of the lore side of Star Wars, kind of see like the underbelly of it all. Just because I know we were supposed to get that with Star Wars Underworld when George Lucas was developing that. We never got to see that. I know they kind of hinted at that with Book of Boba Fett and a little bit with Mandalorian, but it'd be kind of cool to see like the seedy underbelly of like what's going on, where Amanda Stenberg's character and her mentor are trying to solve these mysteries, all these crimes going on. Maybe we'll kind of get like a Blade Runner type thriller where they're trying to figure out like how the Sith are reforming, how the dark side is reforming, kind of get more tie-ins like the High Republic side, and then maybe get some hints of like what's to come later on. Maybe get some like Darth Plagueis tie-ins, Darth Bane, Sith origins, and whatnot. So yeah, I think this could be like a really cool show. And also Leslie Headland's going to be drawing on aspects from the expanded universe. As we all know, when Disney bought Lucasfilm, moving forward with Force Awakens, they didn't want to have the creators kind of be bogged down by all this lore from all these different books and comics and TV shows that we got back in the day after Revenge of the Sith, and even before that, of all this kind of like post Return of the Jedi storylines and everything. So everything was all marked as legends. Nothing's really canon. Gratefully, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, especially Dave Filoni, has been kind of drawing aspects from the expanded universe and putting it into their shows and making it canon again. So I'm glad that Leslie's kind of doing that. So hoping that we get more Darth Plagueis stuff with that. So we'll see, maybe just like a little hints and stuff and actually make it more canon, just because he was mentioned in Revenge of the Sith. And then all of our fan theories when Force Awakens was about to be released was like, oh, is Rey holding Darth Plagueis' staff? Is that voiceover by Andy Serkis? Before we knew he was Snoke, is he going to be Darth Plagueis? And all this stuff. So yeah, hopefully we'll get more of that in the Acolyte, but we'll see.
Hey, just jumping in again. So actually looks like we got some more confirmations about the Acolyte, and it seems like Leslie Headland was kind of pitching it as Frozen meets Kill Bill, where it's told from the bad guy's point of view, where the villains are very much outnumbered by the Jedi. This is supposed to be like the High Republic, so it's supposed to be like the reign of the Jedi. So we'll see how that all kind of plays out, how those kind of two titles kind of mash together. But I think this could be really, really interesting. We also got confirmation on more of the casting. Looks like Amanda Stenberg and Lee Jung-jae are going to be playing Jedi. Amanda's going to be playing a former Padawan, and then Lee is going to be playing like a Jedi Master. Apparently there's footage of like him leading a whole charge of Jedi, so maybe he'll be this version of Yoda in a way, kind of like the head of the Jedi Council. We also got confirmation on Daphne Keane, Charlie Bennett, Junis Suetomo are going to be playing Jedi as well, whether alien or human. And we also got confirmation on Rebecca Henderson and Carrie-Anne Moss playing Jedi Masters as well. Rebecca Henderson will be playing the character of Vernestra Rowe. Apparently she's a character from the High Republic book series, which I haven't read, side, but apparently she's a fan favorite, so I'm glad that a lot of people who are fans of the High Republic book series get to see her in live action. So yeah, that'd be really cool to see her there. Well, also for the Acolyte, I forgot to mention earlier, an actor named Dean Charles Chapman has been confirmed in a role, and he hasn't really been confirmed on what he's going to be playing exactly, but I'm guessing he'll probably be like an ally or something. Maybe he'll be an official in the High Republic, maybe he'll be an enemy, not quite sure, but hopefully they'll reveal his role down the line. And then another actress named Margarita Laviva has also been cast in this show, and just like Dean, her role hasn't been confirmed. I'm hoping she plays an enemy, maybe like a rising Sith member, or maybe she's part of the Republic or part of the Senate. Like I said before, hopefully her role will be revealed and we can start speculating. Just based on the interviews that they had at Star Wars Celebration, it seems like there's really going to be a lot of power struggles and power dynamics going on with this show. And another actress named Jodie Turner-Smith, she wasn't really confirmed on playing a Jedi, but apparently she's going to be playing some kind of powerful leader in this story. So I'm guessing that she's going to be a Sith. I think she's probably going to be like the main antagonist in this show, and maybe she has her own Padawan learner that she's teaching, and they're going to be going up against Amanda and Lee's character, and there's going to be like this huge epic battle. They showed footage during the celebration of like a golden lightsaber and clashes between all these Jedi. So yeah, I mean, I think this could be a really good show. It's going to be 8 episodes, and maybe we'll get this May the 4th of 2024. So yeah, I think it could be good. You know, I'm really excited just based on what all these actors are saying. It's going to be a very action-oriented show, very much like martial arts inspired, Akira Kurosawa inspired show. So yeah, I think it could be really, really good. And again, like I kind of said with Skeleton Crew, I'm hoping that they show a little bit more footage. Hopefully we'll get a new trailer just showing what the show is going to be all about. And yeah, I'm actually pretty excited for it. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
All right, now we move on to Andor Season 2. And if you've watched my previous videos, I did explain that I really enjoyed Season 1. Obviously, there was episodes that were kind of slow, some episodes that there wasn't really much happening in it. So I'm hoping that with Season 2, they kind of pick up the pace, and it looks like they will. I was reading that originally they had a plan for like 5 seasons, and then Tony Gilroy was saying it's impossible. It's like the production's like impossible to do just because just based on Season 1, like they go on location, they have all these amazing sets and production value and everything. So sustaining that for 4 more seasons was kind of impossible. So they're kind of cramming 4 seasons, or I guess 4 years worth of material into one, which I think is pretty cool. I know some people who, like the slower pace of Season 1 will probably be a little jarring for them, but at least for us, me and like other hardcore Star Wars fans kind of want to see more, like pick up the pace a little bit more Star Wars lore tie-ins a little bit will be really cool. So I'm hoping that they do that with Season 2 and just get us to the events of Rogue One and kind of see Andor's arc of, kind of being this guy who like runs away from the fight to finally join the fight, and then in Rogue One where he obviously gives his life for the rebellion to get the plans for the Death Star. Yeah, and something that I'm really excited to see is Cassian Andor finally crossing paths with Mon Mothma, just because in the first season they're very separated and everything. A lot of characters were very separate, a lot of storylines going on. So it'd be kind of cool to see those characters finally meet up with each other, just because in Rogue One, obviously they were on Yavin 4, so it'd be cool to finally see them cross paths, see how they finally interact. It's kind of like Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen, finally meeting at the end of like Game of Thrones Season 6, where it's like finally we see the Song of Ice and Fire, come together and everything. So I'm hoping that we kind of see that with Cassian Andor and with Mon Mothma, just because they're such important characters, especially in Rogue One, and then obviously for Mon Mothma in Return of the Jedi. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that and kind of see like what their interaction is going to be, how they're going to deal with each other, how they're going to finally kind of like gel together and work together to make these plans to steal the plans for the Death Star and move forward with the rebellion, and how the rebellion's going to finally form and finally begin an alliance to take on the Empire. So I'm hoping we kind of get to see more of that. Yeah, I'm really excited for Season 2. Like I said before, I'm glad that they're not stretched along for another 4 seasons, but really kind of compress it all into like 1 season. And I don't mind the fact that it'll be another 12 episodes. I'm hoping that each episode will actually be packed with story. Hopefully we'll actually get like hour-long episodes. We'll kind of get like that breakneck speed and pace for these episodes, and that we'll finally have that epic conclusion that'll lead on to Rogue One, and then obviously we'll lead on to A New Hope. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I'm really excited. Like I said before, I enjoyed Season 1. I just wish it was kind of more compressed, more eventful, and it looks like they'll be doing that with Season 2 moving forward. It's going to be a little while away. Obviously it's like a huge production with a lot of production value, and you're cramming a lot into 1 season, so it'll be a while, so there'll be plenty of time for more speculation and everything. But yeah, we'll see, and I'm excited to see what happens of Cassian Andor, how we kind of see his arc throughout the season.
Hey, jumping in again. So for Andor Season 2, Benjamin Bratt is actually going to be cast in an undisclosed role. Honestly, I have no idea who he could be. Maybe he'll be like a relative of Andor. Maybe he was one of the kids who escaped when his planet was being attacked, and this would kind of be like them reuniting. Maybe they'll be enemies and they slowly become friends in the end. Maybe by the end of this season, Benjamin Bratt Brad's character gets sacrificed, and that kind of fully brings Andor into the fight with the rebellion. Or maybe he can be one of the Imperials. We honestly don't know at this point, but I think Benjamin Bratt's a great actor. I've seen him in a couple things. I haven't seen everything that he's been in, but from what I know, he can be like very dark and dramatic, but he can also have like a funny lighter side. But I think he's probably going to play more of like a darker, dramatic role. So hopefully as the kind of months go on, we'll kind of get more confirmation with his role. But yeah, I'm excited that he's in the next season of Andor, and at least for now, it's cool that we're getting more casting announcements, and hopefully we'll get more. We also got confirmation on a potential release date for Andor season 2. It looks like it might be August of 2024. So yeah, maybe we'll get a little bit sooner than we thought. Tony Gilroy said that they're trying to like film it as quickly as they can so they can have it by their release date. So I think they're expected to be wrapping up this August, and then hopefully they'll be in a year post-production and then release it by August of 2024. So that's really exciting. They also talked about the format of the series, how there's going to be 12 episodes and there's going to be 4 3-episode arcs, and with each of the arcs is going to encapsulate 1 year of the Star Wars timeline. So that's going to be cool. Like I said previously, they were originally wanting to have 4 more seasons, and each season was going to take place over a year, but it looks like they're going to kind of cram all that in one season and have 3 episodes encapsulate 1 year. So I think that could be cool. Also for Andor, I actually found out that the last 3 episodes are supposed to take place over the last 3 days leading up to Rogue One. So that could be really cool. I was reading that Tony Gilroy really wants to ramp up the tension and really get the ball rolling of how this rebellion forms. And he says that the last couple minutes of the last episode is supposed to lead directly into Rogue One. So that's actually going to be really cool. So I feel like they're really going to compress the timeline now, because I think they originally had 12 episodes and have 4 chunks of 3 episodes that would cover 1 year. So yeah, it looks like they're really going to pick up the pace with this season, and yeah, I'm actually really excited. I guess the only downside is that due to the writer's strike, they had to suspend production on it. I know Tony Gilroy originally had the release date for August 2024, but I don't really know if that's going to happen right now. I mean, hopefully the suspension was just temporary and that they could resume filming, but hopefully it'll still come out in August 2024, but if not, maybe it'll be September, October, November 2024, or hopefully not 2025, but we'll see what happens after this whole writer's strike business happens. But that's kind of the only update with that one. And just based on the footage that was played at Star Wars Celebration, it looks like they're really going to kind of hit the ground running with characters meeting up with each other and setting the stage for the events of Rogue One, and then eventually that will lead into A New Hope. So yeah, I'm actually really excited for it. And like I said, with Skeleton Crew and Acolyte, I'm really hoping that they show that trailer footage soon, and so that we can dissect it even further. But yeah, as for now, I'm really excited, and yeah, can't wait for season 2. All right, now we move on to Lando, another show, like I said before, we don't know any information on really. We just got that one announcement at the Disney Investors Day years ago of how this show is going to be made, and how Justin Simien, who directed Dear White People, is going to be executive producer and head writer on it. But then after that, we've heard nothing from it. So we'll see what happens with that. I've read that Kathleen Kennedy is trying to get Donald Glover back in the role as Lando. So we'll see what happens with that. I mean, I think it'd be great, because I kind of said in my last video, I thought Donald Glover was like the best part of Solo. He definitely played Lando the way that we all kind of expected him to be. So hopefully they can actually get him for the show. At this point, we don't know how many episodes it's going to be, how many seasons it's going to be. Is it going to be a limited series? We really don't know. I'm really hoping that it kind of explores more of who Lando was before we see him in Empire Strikes Back, even before we see him in Solo. Kind of we get more background of like who he is, maybe kind of give more context to L3, even though she wasn't really my favorite character, but kind of explain more of that relationship, kind of explain why he became a gambler and all that. Or like a post Return of the Jedi show where it shows that transition, like what happened to Lando after Return of the Jedi, and then leading into his appearance in Rise of Skywalker. Because that was the question that we had when we saw Force Awakens and Last Jedi, is like, where's Lando? And then we finally got him in Rise of Skywalker, because unfortunately Carrie Fisher passed away and they couldn't film any scenes with her. So obviously they killed off Han Solo, they killed off Luke Skywalker, so all we have left is Lando. And then we finally got the actor who played Wedge Antilles, because he finally got over his stubbornness about it, and he finally showed up, a little cameo in Rise of Skywalker. So yeah, that'd be cool to see that, what he was up to during that. And then I know there's like a Lando comic out there, so maybe there'll be adventures of like what happened in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, which would be really cool to see how he's kind of like joined into the fight, how he eventually becomes General Calrissian, see the different adventures and the different missions he's been on to eventually get that position. I think that could be cool. But other than that, we don't really have any information about that. We just had the announcement, the title, obviously Lando, and then Justin Simien being the creator of that. Hopefully it'll be good, and hopefully we'll get more information on it as the years goes on, and we'll actually get a release date and some footage and some production photos and stuff. So we'll see what happens with that. All right, and then we move on to A Droid Story, and kind of like what I was saying with Lando, this is another title that was announced at the Disney Investors Day, and then we've heard nothing ever since then. But apparently it's supposed to be the epic journey of C-3PO and R2-D2 leading this new character into the whole Star Wars story. I think it's just supposed to be a film
which totally makes sense. It's supposed to be kind of like the interconnectivity of animation and visual effects. So I think that would be cool to see like an animated version of R2-D2 and C-3PO, since we kind of got that in Clone Wars, the 2D versions of them in like the Clone Wars micro series. So it'd be cool to see like more like a CG animated version of those characters, kind of like in a full feature. We got the Droid show, back in the 80s, the 2D version, which was a very cheesy show, but it was the 80s, what can they do? So maybe something that's kind of like in the vein of that. I have no idea who this new character is going to be. Are they going to be human? Are they going to be aliens? Are they going to be a droid? We don't know. It's just going to be a new character, maybe a new like Force user character, a new Jedi would be cool. Maybe someone who joins the rebellion later on. That's another thing. We don't know what the timeline is going to be for this movie, where it takes place. So we really have no context, or it could just be its own separate thing. So we'll see. Maybe it'll be like a post-Secret Trilogy show or something. So now we can finally introduce a new character. Or maybe it can be something in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, just because, there's that 19-year gap where we don't really know what the droids were doing at that time. I'm sure there's like plenty of books and comics and video games that explain it, but to have something that's actually canon would be really cool. And then maybe they'll pop up in season 4 of like The Mandalorian or any of those shows moving forward, like Ahsoka if that gets a season 2, or Skeleton Crew if that gets a season 2. But yeah, like I said, Lando, we have no idea anything about this story. We just know the title and then the log line for it. So yeah, we'll see.
Hey, just jumping in again, we finally got confirmation that there's going to be 3 upcoming Star Wars movies. There's going to be one by James Mangold, and it's going to be about the Dawn of the Jedi. There's going to be another one by Dave Filoni. It's going to be kind of like the wrap-up of this kind of crossover between Mandalorian Season 3, Ahsoka, and Skeleton Crew, kind of like what I was theorizing before about there being a crossover event. So it looks like this movie is going to be that answer to that. And the third one is from Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, and it's going to be set after the events of Rise of Skywalker, and it's going to be about the character of Rey rebuilding the Jedi Order. So yeah, I guess my theories beforehand were wrong. It looks like Daisy Ridley is going to come back for another Star Wars movie. So there have been a couple updates with the movies. Due to the writer's strike, there's been a lot of shuffling of release dates. So it looks like the new release dates are going to be May 2026, December 2026, and December 2027. That's going to be pretty exciting. I know we have to wait a little bit longer. I know they originally anticipated the movie to come out in 2025. I think it was going to be the Rey movie. But it's cool that we're going to get 2 Star Wars films in 1 year. So I'm hoping that in 2026 we'll get the Rey movie, probably for the May release, and then the Dave Filoni crossover film for December 2026, and then probably the Dawn of the Jedi movie in 2027. There's also been some other updates. Kathleen Kennedy actually said that she wants to have a James Bond-esque release window of having 3 years in between movies. So I'm guessing after the 3 movies have been announced, once they start rolling out new movies, there'll be the 3-year gap in between. Kind of like what George Lucas was doing when he was releasing the original trilogy and the prequels. He had 3 years in between the movies. So I think that'll definitely be better for production. They won't have to feel as rushed about getting movies out every single year. So I think that was actually a really good decision. And then another announcement was that Kathleen Kennedy also confirmed that there's going to be an opening crawl back for the movies, which totally makes sense because at first it was just for the saga movies, and then after that all the Star Wars stories didn't have an opening crawl, which was kind of jarring to watch. So I'm glad that they have the opening crawl back in the movies. I never really feel like Star Wars again. Also for the Rey movie, there's been one major update. Looks like Daisy Ridley's character of Rey is going to be serving as a Jedi Master rather than the main character. Kathleen Kennedy was saying that she's probably going to be like an Obi-Wan-esque type character, more like the mentor for a new generation of Jedi, which totally makes sense. So I know there's been a lot of controversy about Daisy Ridley coming back and bringing in more of like the sequel characters and having another film centered around her, especially since Rise of Skywalker was so panned by critics and fans alike. So I'm actually kind of glad that she's kind of in more of a supporting role rather than the main character, and maybe this will open the door for more story opportunities. Maybe this is kind of like a reboot of what they were trying to do with the sequel trilogy. Maybe they'll actually try to give this new main character time to develop and not have them be powerful just right off the bat. But if this does end up being a trilogy, hopefully we'll start off with this main character, kind of struggling with their powers, and then maybe by the end they have some kind of achievement, and then they set off in their hero's journey in like another sequel or a trilogy or something down the road. But we'll see what happens. But that's really the only update with that one. Overall, I'm really excited that, kind of like what I was complaining about earlier, is that Lucasfilm doesn't really have a plan of like what they want to do with upcoming Star Wars movies. So I'm glad that they finally have a plan. They finally have announcements for what they're going to be doing. I'm glad that they're going to be setting them in different eras of the Star Wars universe, like past, present, and future. So yeah, I'm really, really excited for it. There's not really too much we know about what the story is going to be, but just based on these filmmakers, I think they're going to be really good. James Mangold is, already in kind of like the Lucasfilm camp directing Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And then obviously Dave Filoni. I'll sing all the praises about Dave Filoni all the time. Dave Filoni actually confirmed that we're getting a Tales of the Jedi Season 2 and a Bad Batch Season 3. So I'm actually really excited for those. I loved Tales of the Jedi Season 1, so I'm glad we're getting another one of those. And then Bad Batch Season 3, I mean, that ending for Season 2 was just very emotional and had a huge cliffhanger. cliffhanger. So I'm glad that we're getting a season 3 to just kind of wrap things up. So my theories were hopefully correct of Dave Filoni slowly but surely kind of gaining power within Lucasfilm, and maybe, he'll take over as new president, but we'll see. But yeah, definitely grateful for Dave Filoni and all the work that he's doing for the future of Star Wars. Mandalorian is his baby along with Jon Favreau, and then obviously Ahsoka is his baby because he co-created it with George Lucas, and sure, Skeleton Crew is going to be amazing. So seeing that kind of crossover event in this movie is going to be really, really cool. So I'm hoping that we get that soon. And this whole post Rise of Skywalker era movie could be really, really cool. Me and obviously a lot of other people weren't the biggest fans of Rise of Skywalker, but I think setting it sometime after those events, I think it could be really, really cool. I think Disney really is an amazing actor, and obviously she must have had some kind of resolution with Disney in order to come back. But yeah, overall, I'm excited for more Star Wars movies. I'm excited for these filmmakers, and now I have hope for the Star Wars universe, for the movies moving forward, and just fingers crossed, hopefully they're good. But I think with these filmmakers in mind, I think it really can be. So yeah, we'll see how they go.
All right, now we kind of get into the unspecified projects, the projects that have been announced, but we haven't really heard too much from it. We just kind of hear rumors and stuff about it, or the projects that a director or writer's been announced for it, but we have no idea what the title or the premise or the storyline is going to be. So this will be an interesting section. So I'll just kind of talk about my theories of what I hope to see with these different movies and TV shows, and yeah, we'll see what happens with them in the future. So the first one up is the Untitled Taika Waititi film, and I know this has been in development for several years, and Taika Waititi is obviously a very busy man with Marvel and with all those kind of independent projects and everything. So we'll see whenever he gets to it. There are reports this is going to come out right after Rogue Squadron, but then Rogue Squadron got pushed to the side of the Disney movie slate, which is kind of a shame because they had this big announcement, like I said before, with the Disney Investors Day. They had Patty Jenkins talking about her grandfather being a fighter pilot, how she wanted to create the best fighter pilot movie of all time, and we see her in the cockpit of the X-Wing, and it just looked amazing. But then obviously that got shelved just because of the failure of Solo. They decided to just kind of put a pause on the Disney Star Wars films and then kind of focus more on the TV shows and everything like that. I guess there's pros and cons. Pros is that, they kind of learn from their mistakes, and, they're kind of really trying to focus on having a writer's room and actually having a plan, plan things out in advance and everything. So they just kind of had to learn the hard way, which is kind of unfortunate. And the cons is that all these different projects and movies and stuff that, we were really excited about have been canned. So we'll see what happens with the future of all these different movies and shows. But anyway, back to Taika Waititi. I know he was being interviewed, him and Kathleen Kennedy, and now they kind of want to move away from the Skywalker saga for obvious reasons. They kind of want to introduce new characters, new planets, new storylines, which I think is really good, because I think the problem with a lot of these new Star Wars movies and shows that kind of tie into all these legacy characters is that we as fans obviously have a connection to these characters, and when they're not done right, we get upset. Obi-Wan, for example, where you have this potential of having this amazing, incredible Obi-Wan focused show with Darth Vader / Anakin as this main antagonist, but then you're just no, let's have it be about Reva and everything, have our little Disney agenda and kind of hijack the show, which it's like a Trojan horse where you're the outside it's going to be about Obi-Wan, but on the inside it's really about Reva. And instead of just let's just have our own, Reva show, let's just have her hijack Obi-Wan show and then have it kind of be disguised as Obi-Wan show, but really it's about Reva, which, if you want to hear my thoughts about Obi-Wan, you can just go back to my last video. Or Book of Boba Fett, where you kind of hype him up as this, amazing character that we had in the episode of Mando season 2, where he's this incredible gunslinging gangster taking out Bib Fortuna and sitting on the throne. But he's got to be, redeemed in a way. He can't be too dark. He's got to be this honorable leader, and he's got to get back to his Bacta tank and all this stuff. Or it's just oh, come on, you hyped him up to be this amazing character in that Mando season 2 episode, and then you just kind of make him a wimp in a way. So yeah, I think moving forward, Disney really just needs to take on new characters. Either take on new characters or have Dave Filoni shepherd all these legacy characters, which it looks like he's doing with Ahsoka, just because I feel out of all the creators at Disney, with the exception of Jon Favreau, he's the one who really cares about the vision that George Lucas set out with Star Wars. He really wants to shepherd these characters in this storyline and, have it be consistent with what George set out with those first 6 movies. And, he was obviously an apprentice to George Lucas when he was working at Lucasfilm and, working on the Clone Wars and developing that whole storyline. He helped co-create Ahsoka with George Lucas. Lucas. So obviously he's going to treat Ahsoka with care with this live action series. But as far as these other shows, like Obi-Wan and Book of Boba Fett, they've just been kind of hit or miss. Andor is different just because he's not really a legacy character. So they can kind of do what they want with him because we kind of know where he ends up. But yeah, as far as these characters that we know and love, Disney just hasn't really been treating them with respect. And, you can kind of see with like Last Jedi with Mark Hamill, you can see all those videos of like how Mark Hamill warned us about The Last Jedi and like how obviously he's having like this terrible time with like how Rian Johnson treated Luke Skywalker in those movies. And the proof is in the pudding of how the fans reacted and became the most divisive Star Wars movie of all time. Anyway, as far as like Taika Waititi, I think moving away from the Skywalker saga and telling new stories is like a good call. I'm a big Taika Waititi fan. I wasn't the biggest fan of Thor Love and Thunder. I think just because he kind of stayed in the Marvel sandbox a little bit too long. He did great with Thor Ragnarok. That's like my favorite Thor movie. But as far as staying within one franchise, I think was kind of like a detriment to him. So maybe he kind of felt that pressure to, I gotta give fans what they love from Thor Ragnarok and just double down, just do the same thing with Thor Love and Thunder instead of like moving the story forward. If you want to see my thoughts on Thor Love and Thunder, you can go to my Marvel videos for that. But yeah, I think he's an incredible filmmaker. He's like a 2-time Academy Award nominee, and an Academy Award winner for Jojo Rabbit. So obviously he can make a great movie. And then he directed the season finale of Mandalorian season 1, which was incredible. So if you just kind of give him the freedom to do his version of like a Star Wars movie that's not kind of shackled by, you gotta have all these legacy characters, you gotta involve the Skywalkers, just have an incredible, Taika Waititi Star Wars film, I think it'd be good. So we'll see what happens with that. I know it's still a little ways away because he's busy with all of his other projects. So we'll see what happens with that. So once we get production stills and first teaser and maybe like his own panel where he's actually talking about it and we have casting announcements, then I'll get a little bit more excited. But for now, it's kind of more theoretical. So we'll see what happens with that.
Hey, jumping in again. So for the Untitled Taika Waititi project, the only real update with that is that Taika Waititi is planning on putting himself in the movie, which totally makes sense because he's literally in every one of his movies, like What We Do in the Shadows, Hunt for the Little People, he has a small role, Thor Ragnarok, he plays Korg, Jojo Rabbit, he plays Hitler. So yeah, I think it could be, pretty cool having him in the Star Wars galaxy. Like maybe he'll do like an IG-11 movie or something, since that was his character in Mandalorian. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, there's really no information with it. It's probably going to be a while until we actually get the movie. So we'll see. And then as far as an update with the Taika Waititi film, Taika Waititi is planning on filming in 2024, but hopefully he's already finished writing the script so that due to the writer's strike, there won't be any delays with that production. So maybe we'll get that movie in like 2026, 2027 or something, or maybe after Dawn of the Jedi or something, maybe in 2028. So who knows? But since this movie's been in development for a while, hopefully we'll get it sooner than later. But that's the only really update with that one.
All right, now we'll move on to the Rian Johnson trilogy. When he was making Last Jedi, Kathleen Kennedy was so happy with Rian Johnson with the way that things were going with Last Jedi that she just gave him a whole trilogy before Last Jedi even came out, and then like I said before, it became the most divisive Star Wars film of all time. After all the reviews went down, they put that to the side. But I guess technically it's still in development, but now Rian Johnson's busy with the Knives Out trilogy. The reports said that he's gonna finish off the Knives Out series with like another film at least, and then start work on at least part 1 of the trilogy, just because I don't think he's gonna do a whole trilogy. And speaking of which, Kathleen Kennedy has kind of announced that they're not gonna announce trilogies way off in advance, and try to focus on just making one good movie, and then if it does well, then announce maybe like a second or third one. But anyway, yeah, with Rian, he's gonna be writing and directing apparently part 1 after he's done with the Knives Out trilogy, which yeah, I think it's like a good idea. I mean, like I love Knives Out. The first one is like one of my favorite movies of all time. So even if he doesn't do Star Wars ever again, which I won't be sad about. If he just wants to stay in his Knives Out universe, like I would be totally fine with that. And maybe if he wants to do like the story and executive produce his whole Star Wars trilogy, or at least the first part of the series, then I'm totally fine with that. But yeah, we'll see. Like I keep saying before, we have no idea like what he's wanting to do, but kind of based on what Kathleen Kennedy said before, she wants to kind of be outside the Skywalker saga, which I think is a good idea. It's kind of like what I was saying before with my problems with Last Jedi, like Ryan's treatment of Luke Skywalker and Mark Hamill. I think it's good if he kind of has a Star Wars movie that's away from the Skywalker saga and kind of makes his own story, because he can obviously make a great movie. I haven't seen Brothers Bloom, but I've seen Brick and I've seen Looper and obviously Knives Out, and he can make like a great sci-fi movie. Like Looper I thought was pretty good. The ending was like I still was kind of iffy on, but I think like the movie itself was like really good. So yeah, I think if he can make just like a really just good Star Wars self-contained movie, and if it leads into a trilogy, if it's good, then I'll be excited for it. But for now, we'll see what happens after he's done with his Knives Out series. And the final announcement we have is the Shawn Levy film, which I'm actually actually really excited for. Obviously, what I keep saying before, we have no idea what he's going to be doing for the story or what era he's going to set it in. But I mean, I think it'd be cool. Obviously, his filmography is great. Just the past couple projects he's done, he's going to be doing Deadpool 3. He's going to be doing the final episodes of Stranger Things. He's probably going to be doing like a Free Guy sequel. So I think this could be like just a really fun project just based on what he's done. Adam Project, he produced like Arrival. I think this can just be like a really just fun movie with some, dark elements, maybe some like twisted humor, a lot of action. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what he does with it. Obviously, he's a big Star Wars fan and just an incredible filmmaker. I'm just thinking about episode 4 of Stranger Things that I've watched, a couple months ago, where, you laugh at one moment, then you cry another moment, then you're kind of in awe at another moment. So yeah, I'm really excited for it. Just based on his filmography and everything, I feel like if he's leaning more towards Ryan Reynolds films that he does, he's probably gonna have like a protagonist who's kind of goofy, kind of charming, kind of like a Han Solo type, and he kind of gets wrapped up into this adventure that's bigger than him, and he doesn't really know how to handle it. Maybe it'll kind of be like Chris Pratt in Guardians of the Galaxy or something, something more for like an older audience, or something like that's fun, action-packed, doesn't take itself too seriously. It could have its like dark, scary moments, but I think whatever he has planned, I'm excited for. He's like an amazing filmmaker and everything he's done. He's like the it guy in Hollywood right now as far as like the movies and TV shows that he's kind of producing and directing and everything. So why not add a Star Wars project onto your list? So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Again, this is all kind of speculation. I have no idea what's going to happen with it. It's definitely going to be a while because he still has to finish up Deadpool 3 and Stranger Things 5 and then Free Guy 2 if he ever does that. So it's probably going to be a while till we see it, but whenever he does decide to go in production for it, I'm going to be here for it. Maybe there'll be like a Ryan Reynolds cameo or something. That'll be fun seeing him in Star Wars since he's already in Deadpool with Marvel. So yeah, we'll see how it goes and I'm excited for it. Yeah, so to sort of wrap all this up, I've been talking a lot longer than I thought I would. But yeah, overall, I think the future of Disney Star Wars is looking bright. I'm glad that they have a plan. I'm glad they kind of took a step back from the movies for a little bit and kind of reassessed what they're wanting to do with them. And, they're kind of moving forward like on a good note. I'm glad that Dave Filoni was kind of slowly but surely increasing his power within Lucasfilm a little bit, being the showrunner of Ahsoka, and then having this kind of crossover event with Mando Season 3 and with Skeleton Crew. I'm excited to see all that. And then as far as like all like the new movies and the new TV shows, I'm glad they're kind of, at least for the TV shows, they're kind of centering them around the High Republic. They're kind of exploring that storyline and not dealing with like the legacy characters, just kind of doing something completely new, kind of giving these various directors like creative freedom of like what they want to do. So I'm excited to see what they decide to do with that. I'm glad that they have like different audiences. They have like more like adult audiences, they have like teenage audiences, they have like little kid audiences, kind of bring in all these kind of like ages of Star Wars fans and kind of bring this whole new generation of Star Wars fans up. So yeah, I think it'd be really cool. I'm glad that they're having like these filmmakers who are not only Star Wars fans but are also incredible filmmakers just in general when it comes to like writing, directing, producing. I'm not sure how long Kathleen Kennedy is going to stay at Lucasfilm, but as far as now, I think she really set the table for where it could go. If she does decide to go off and retire and maybe go on another studio, then at least she kind of left Lucasfilm in a good place. And with Bob Iger back as CEO, maybe he'll kind of like shepherd that a little bit more and hopefully find a successor after he goes off, and then like they can kind of watch over Lucasfilm and kind of have it stick to what George Lucas originally intended when he sold it off to Disney, to kind of like make the stories hopeful, make the stories inspiring, and have everything kind of be consistent and kind of treat the characters with respect, because that's what we as fans really just want to see. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with it, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. If you got to the end, I know I talked way more than I thought I was going to do, but yeah, I'm just just excited about the future of Star Wars and where it could end up. If you ever want to see like more of these in the future, just leave a comment below of like what movies or series or franchise you want me to take on, and I'll see what I can do with that. But yeah, in the meantime, give this video a like and subscribe for more videos, and may the force be with you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.